Okay, so death of the author. Kind of sounds ominous, doesn't it?
Yeah, like something ends.
Right, like the end.
Yeah.
But this deep dive we're doing today is actually kind of more about beginnings. It's like the beginning of a conversation about power, like the power dynamics between creators, like artists and writers, and their creations. And we're using Nnedi Okorafor's novel, which is called Death of the Author, to kind of get us thinking.
Yeah, and what's so cool about this book is that it uses like this made-up story to ask really real questions about, like who gets to be an author, and what even makes us human in a world that's like so shaped by like all this technology.
Yeah, and this is not like robots in the future kind of theoretical stuff. This is like real. Okorafor really puts us right into the life of this woman, Zelu. She's a Nigerian American. And she feels kind of out of place even with her family.
Oh, interesting.
And I don't know, you get this sense that she's really searching for connection. Searching for a way to express herself. And kind of finds that in writing.
That's really cool. And like a lot of creative people can probably relate to that.
Oh, totally.
Like that, wanting to be heard, wanting to find your voice, then share it. But for Zelu, it's not just that like that universal thing of, being an artist. It's also really tied in with her being, a Black woman and trying to like find her place in this literary world that, hasn't always been open to voices like hers.
Yeah, and that struggle, it shows up in her writing journey too.
Oh, interesting.
Like at first she's drawn to like literary fiction. But she hits these roadblocks. Gets rejected.
Right, like the classic.
It's like the classic aspiring author struggle. But then something kind of changes, like she shifts.
Yeah, it's like she gives herself permission to write for herself, just for the joy of it.
Exactly.
Without worrying about what other people think.
Yes, and that's where Rusted Robots comes from.
Oh, cool.
It's this futuristic sci-fi novel. And it's like completely different from anything she's ever written before.
Wow.
Androids, complex AI, this whole world where the lines are blurred between human and machine.
Oh, that's cool. And that adds another layer to the whole identity thing. Not just like her own identity, but also what does it even mean to be human when you got all this technology around?
Yeah, and this is where things get really interesting. Zelu shares Rusted Robots. And it kind of blows up. She's a star.
Wow. Okay.
But then that comes with a whole new set of challenges, right?
It's like the double-edged sword. You get the recognition that you wanted, but then you might lose control of your work. It's not your vision anymore. It's how other people see it, how they market it. Try to fit it into their own, thing.
And you see this tension throughout the whole book, right? Zelu dealing with fame, art, and love in her relationships, while her book is out there connecting with readers in ways she never expected.
And not just any readers. We're talking like George R.R. Martin, Ursula K. Le Guin, like big names praised this book, and that's not an accident. Okorafor is putting her work right up there with these huge authors saying like, hey, my story matters too.
So you mentioned metafiction before. Could you explain what that means?
Yeah, so metafiction is like a story that knows it's a story. It's like breaking that like fourth wall, Often it's like a story within a story. And it blurs what's real and what's made up.
So how does that play out in this book?
Oh, it's done really well in Death of the Author. It mixes Zelu's life with the world of Rusted Robots. You start to wonder, like, where does one story end and the other begin?
And she's not doing this just to be clever, is she?
No, not at all. She's using metafiction to make some pretty sharp points about society. A lot like R. Eric Thomas did in Yellowface.
Right, I remember that one.
Yeah, it poked fun at the whole publishing world, how it's biased and how voices that are different get, kind of put us aside. And Death of the Author does something similar. It's looking at how a creator's ideas can get twisted once their work is out there.
Oh, interesting.
But it also goes deep into the emotions of that, like tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. Remember that one about those two game developers? We have all this commentary happening while we're like right there in Zelu's journey, and this captivating world she created.
It makes you think, if what we create takes on its own life, do we, the creators, kind of die in a way? Or do we just evolve with it?
That's a big question. And this book doesn't give you easy answers. It wants you to really think about this and consider how creators, their work, and the audience all play a part in what the work ultimately means.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining me for this deep dive today. It's been a great conversation.
Thanks for having me.
Death of the Author. A lot to think about.
Definitely.
We'll see you next time for another deep dive.
Sounds good.